So a few days ago, I was on TikTok at 3 o'clock in the morning, scrolling when I went to bed at 10 o'clock, and I came across this random video on my For You page. And it was two guys, about my age, talking about an absolute classic Disney film, 1973's Disney's Robin Hood. And in this video, they are absolutely shitting on this movie for its copy and paste animation, the fact that it didn't have Walt Disney behind the picture because unfortunately he had passed away, so therefore the fact that Disney had died this day and they haven't really done anything good since that because they need Disney to keep doing the good films and stuff. And I just thought, how the hell can these guys crap on probably one of the most funniest classic Disney movies ever? So here, on The Average Critic, we're going to put those guys to shame. Here we go. So Robin Hood came out in 1973 and was the first Disney film that didn't have any input by Mr. Walt Disney himself, and so there was enormous pressure on the company when creating this movie. Upon the release of this movie, it received mixed reviews and is known for recycling a lot of animation. Its story is pretty basic and is not known for having the emotional weight that previous Disney films had. There have been a lot of Robin Hood films over the years, some going full action, some going more along the comedy route, and some of them just being downright awful. But Disney's animated Robin Hood is perhaps the most unique, not only because it contains the classic Disney anthropomorphic animals, but also because of its style and tongue-in-cheek nature. Even from the very opening, it opens up with the classic storybook setting, but then flips your expectations by focusing on a little rooster, who is dressed as a classic minstrel. Voiced by the incredible Roger Miller, with his country-style voice, he tells a story from the animal point of view, and has an amazing opening number with no lyrics, just a whistle. And just like that, the song is completely in your head. The opening is actually amazing, introducing us to every character we know from this story and its animal counterpart. Films don't traditionally do this, as on paper this is seen as a crappy filler musical number that kind of serves no purpose than to tell the narrative, but really it sets you up that Disney wanted to try something very different. Up until this point, a lot of Disney films had a very serious and dark tone, but Robin Hood is a really simple, fun story with incredible jokes about a great folktale we have seen plenty of times. Robin Hood is a classic in British literature and is beloved by all ages. Every British person knows the story of Robin Hood, and Disney's Robin Hood is a perfect blend of witty British humour and classic Western style filmmaking. Robin Hood is voiced by Brian Bedford, who gives one of the most whimsical performances ever. Every word is like a Shakespeare play, contrasting that with the classic Phil Harris performance of Little John, who brings all that cheesy American performance right out of a Rat Pack movie. This blend of British and American culture melds brilliantly, making everything so tongue-in-cheek. Every single performance commits to itself in spades, allowing every character to stand out. This film gets a lot of stick of its cheap borrowing of animation, but should be praised for its cast, as every performance is a standout. All the voices are so unique, with the southern drawl of Pat Bertram's Sheriff of Nottingham, the broad Scottish accent of Lady Cluck, and even the Captain of the Royal Guard, who sounds like this.
The tournament of the Golden Arrow will now begin.
Something animation has definitely fallen behind on is making a voice for a character by using accents and unique voices. These days it would be seen as offensive, but we need to accept that accents are funny. Lady Cluck just needs to speak and she is absolutely hilarious because she commits to the over-exaggerated performance. Even Brian Bedford's over-the-top posh accent works because of the tongue-in-cheek tone of the film. Every single performance is a standout, and it's impossible to see who steals the show. In this film, every character has a perfect moment that makes you laugh out loud. Hell, even Nutsy has this moment.
1 o'clock in old Wales.
So aside from the standout performances of the entire cast, we also have to talk about the music of the film. We've already spoken about the opening song Whistle Stop, now let's talk about the rest. The music of Robin Hood is unique, to say the least. The film isn't heavy on the musical numbers, only having 7 musical moments and 2 of them being reprised at the end. The songs are mainly performed by Roger Miller, as the music in this film serves the story very differently. You see, when you have music, or especially a musical number, you have to have a reason behind it. Usually being the reason for singing something is if you can't speak it, you sing it. Generally, the rule for musical numbers comes in several forms. You have your classic I Want song, where the characters state their desires. You have your realization songs, where generally they are used as a transition from one scene to another in a smooth way. Your song can also be for comic relief, and finally it can be needed to express a moment of drama and high emotion. In Robin Hood, your two opening numbers serve as an introduction to the world and the characters. Love isn't really seen as a musical number, as it isn't really sung by any of the characters, although it is absolutely gorgeous. The Phony King of England is a simple comedy folk style song based on an original song called The Bastard King of England. And then Not in Nottingham is an easy western style song to create the emotion for the scene. So all of these songs do serve some sort of basic purpose. But if you didn't have them, it wouldn't change much, if any, of the story or even the feel of the movie. And that sounds like a bad thing, but the songs aren't too in your face, they are simple, they don't last very long, and due to the story being about a folklore tale, all these songs have a folk storytelling style, which really adds to the flavour of the movie. When you look at the style Disney generally go for when it comes to their musical numbers, Robin Hood isn't trying to show off or even bring huge belting songs. I mean, for Christ's sake, the opening song doesn't even have any lyrics in it. The song tells its story and moves on, and considering how different Robin Hood is trying to be from its predecessors, then it works really well. And now we have to talk about the reason why I wanted to do this video in the first place, and that is this film gets ridiculed today because of its copy and paste formula of its animation. You see, Robin Hood takes animation from previous films and places it directly into this film with its own characters. And to be fair, it happens a lot. It doesn't just take from other films, it also repeats itself, as its own animation is seen in the opening, which is repeated later in the film. But this film gets crapped on for being lazy and cheap, still today. Okay, so if this film came out today, then I would definitely slate this film incredibly for reusing animation. But considering animation films used to take an average of 3 to 4 years to make from start to finish, considering the animators reuse some of the animation, I actually think that's incredibly smart. Think about it, 3D animation wasn't a thing until Toy Story came out in 1995, so everything had to be hand-drawn and animated frame by frame. And while sure, 3D animation does come with its own problems and issues, and it even takes an average of 5 years to make, looking at the resources they had at the time, it doesn't surprise me that the copy and paste tool was used. I actually think it's incredibly resourceful reusing the animation. It's almost like a nod to the animation that came before it. Hell, they even got Phil Harris to play Little John, who was literally playing the same character as Baloo from Jungle Book. This adds to the whole tongue-in-cheek nature of the film. When you think about all the time and precise nature of creating an animated movie at that time, can you really blame them? Disney really were the benchmark of creating fluid animation in films. It sounds really silly, but animation like this today, which is seen as pretty normal to us, was like finding gold back in the day. Creating this type of fluid movement was groundbreaking, and Robin Hood is no different. So yes, as much as it does borrow, when you see what Disney were doing at the time, they almost couldn't find anything better, and I personally love these little nods to other films. It's like a little golden Easter egg that if you're paying enough attention to, it's definitely fun to watch. Robin Hood had to live up to so much more. It was a new decade in the 70s, it didn't have Walt Disney behind it, it wasn't this massive musical film, and it has this wonderful blend of British humour and American style filmmaking, and it really offers something different for Disney. And while sure it borrows from other films quite a lot, I think of it as this wonderfully simple film with some incredible humour and classic tunes with a very different feel. So after all that, it gets my professional rating of 8 out of 10. And it's going to get my personal rating of 8 out of 10 as well. Today, some children might not take to the music in this film compared to other Disney properties, but I appreciate that it's trying to be something different. Disney's Robin Hood stands out for being very different. It doesn't have brash, gigantic musical numbers, it doesn't have the weight that maybe other Disney films have, because it's really going heavy on the humour. And so even though it doesn't have that emotional weight, it definitely brings some of the best laughs in a Disney film. So thank you for watching me in this video, and if you made it all the way to the end, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a single video, and be sure to check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of Robin Hood. Did you enjoy it as much as I do, or do you really think that copy and paste tool is a little bit lazy? I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one.